Hello, everybody. My name is Sylvain Rochon. I am the Paradise Engineer. Welcome to another little lecture. Today, I'd like to talk about the new economy. And what I mean by this is something I've written about quite a bit. It's about how we can transform our economy into something completely different that serves us as citizens of the planet. And that's really important. I do have links to previous articles down below. They're published in different periodicals. I think mostly Data-Driven Investor. I'm not sure. But you can check them out. And you go in details and you got diagrams and all that stuff. But essentially, it's an economy that serves us, that makes sure that us as consumers, we can all partake in what the planet and our technology produces. To sufficient for our basic needs, and also extras like for luxuries, entertainment, things that we expect in a modern day, but for everybody on the planet. And a lot of people have been talking with me with enthusiasm around the idea, but we've been in a lot of my writing, I purposefully describe it in comparison to the current economy because that's a way to generate understanding. However, we have this crisis now that kind of cracks things open a bit and allows for a bit more creativity and a bit of a leap ahead. So instead of modifying an existing system, can create an entirely new one. Now, I've been hinting at it quite a bit and sometimes fairly strongly in my writing. But I want to talk about this a bit more because this is the ideal time to make a leap into something much, much better. So no more comparisons with what's been done before. We got to rebuild something from scratch. And a lot of you are probably saying, well, this is impossible. Well, what was once impossible usually becomes possible with time. Even though we can create the ideas or the concepts of an ideal society leveraged by available technologies and technologies that we know we will develop or refine within the next 10 to 20 years, we still have to go through steps to put something in place, given the fact that we still need the current economy to keep things going and food on the table and so on. You can't just kind of scrap and stop using something and then build a brand new thing that doesn't exist yet. So there is a transitional period we have to go through, and I have hinted about that, and I talked about that directly quite a bit. So for now, what I want to discuss about is to kind of go over this concept of this thing that is impossible. We can't change this. We can't get rid of money, for example. Like, why would we do that? And that's a bit of a paradigm, and I'm not sure. Actually, in my concepts, we would still use money, like a digital form of money, which is still money, as currency to be able to do fair trade and kind of, enable fairness, right? And have, things have different values, different people, and money has been successful at determining or putting a price or a value on things. So that's a good use for money. Right now, money is used for a lot of other things that are attached to maintenance of a system, because the economy is basically a cash flow that has some life of its own. And if things go the wrong way, then you get into cascading failures of system called depressions and superinflation on whatever side you want to go. It becomes a big problem because the whole system kind of breaks down. So a new economy would be a system that cannot break down, and that puts the human beings as in a position of consumers only, and participants in the economy, in other parts of the economy by choice, if they want, inherently to the word choice. So doing it step by step, logically, starting with what I've always said is the most logical point of action, which is the universal basic income concept, which is being discussed even more now because we are giving basic income to people because of the crisis that's ongoing with the coronavirus, COVID-19. Well, that's a first piece of the puzzle that allows for the transition to something that may or may not require money to trade, but in my mind, probably just to, at least for a while, and see what if it's really necessary in the end. So, so this thing is not impossible. It's a question of will, and what can we benefit from the transition. And the big issues, like we are are roadblocks for this transition within ourselves. Like we are scared of things we don't understand, we haven't seen before. And even though systems that are harmful and we know cause huge issues like poverty and are very costly, lack of access for a lot of different people, like to education and healthcare and things like that, we kind of shrug and say, well, at least it's better than the unknown. We don't really think that way, but that's what we're really saying when we say, well, we shouldn't do that because that's untested or it's impossible and we shouldn't do that. So a society, I can tell you, like redesigning an economy right now with the level of knowledge and technology that we have, relevant to, let's say, blockchain, internet, neurosciences and biochemistry, like how our body works and how our motivations kind of work, artificial intelligence, automation, robotics, all these domains kind of put together. All this expertise allows us to create essentially an automated system that self-manages. It's not about leadership managing us with the power struggles that we're seeing today, but a new economy that does not have individuals in powerful position at all. No. We have to go back to what human beings really desire at a fundamental basic level. We need to eat, we need to sleep, we need to feel joy and avoid discomfort. We want to feel secure. This is like the bottom rungs of the Maslow pyramid. That's what fundamentally we want. Within that, if we have that, again, according to very old concepts of how humans behave, then we behave socially, we interact with each other, and we invent ways to increase joy and avoid discomfort, called invention in science. And we evolve and make kids, and we do different things that are fundamentally just fun for us or useful. And so we can create a system where civilization behaves like that, and all the management and production processes that forced us to become workers and part of the system can all be automated and managed organically through technology and digital balances of systems and artificial intelligence. An AI that is not like us, an AI whose sole job is to ensure that all the resources of the planet are well used. The ecosystem is kept in balance. The wildlife as well. If there is money for trade available, there's like not too much, not too few, and it kind of self-manages in a decentralized way. And so most of the bureaucratic governance type of systems that are meant to kind of divvy out and make sure everybody has what they need, and that would be handled by automated systems that don't have a centralized human leadership or even a computer leadership. It's just to make sure that everything's okay. And you still have some people that, out of interest and out of concern or out of expertise, would still be within the system, but not out of necessity, out of desire, in interest, part of their way to contribute to the society and to the welfare society, kind of influencing, supervising, and doing certain tasks that they would do better than the artificial intelligence and systems. And we can build this society that is not a utopia. It would have its waves of better times and worse times, because it would be organic. It would go up and down still. It would still have some issues like new viruses kind of coming out, and but it would, a little bit like nature, would have its balancing acts, where if there's an imbalance somewhere, it would have a way to rebalance itself, a little bit like the planet does, and has a certain limits to it, but it would kind of shift things over organically. This is through clever programming, artificial intelligence, an integrated internet that has most things plugged into. It allows human beings to not be in stressful situations and responsibility, and forced into positions and work and spending time in things that they don't really want, and that causes stress, causes criminality, it causes divisions in or separations of classes of human beings, causes all the problems, most of the problems that we see today that we complain about, and we see no way out because they are inherently built into the systems that the current system is trying to maintain by patching. So what we want to do is we want to model and create or engineer a way to have this ideal system where human beings are served by the overarching system at a fundamental level and happy, and create obviously the steps, just like building a company or a product. You start with the small pieces you can achieve now, and then but leading up to that goal in the end. So that's why something that sounds like an impossibility, that sounds like Star Trek's Federation kind of ideology, where people can do whatever they feel challenged by, and it doesn't seem to be any problems, any significant problems, even though interpersonal problems still occur and things like that. It sounds like science fiction, sounds impossible, to something that is indeed probable and possible, because we would plan it and integrate the different steps logically to allow people to transition from what we have now to something much better. And then we're solving most problems in the most major issues that we have, including famine and everything else, food supply, supply chains whatsoever in the environment, climate change. We can tackle all that stuff, changing our political system to something that is more reasonable and that doesn't involve people of power or power struggles. All completely doable in time, in planning, as long as we don't say to ourselves, well, this is impossible, we shouldn't even attempt it, or this is undesirable because we don't know. Not knowing something doesn't mean it's undesirable, it just means that you don't know. And that's why you go step by step and you get to check different steps to see if they make sense, both in the current system and for the future system that you already pre-plan and design, and you can test if it would work in the other system as well. So these are things that I'm working on with certain organizations. I'd like to have a shout out to the World Future Society for its members and its ideas, and because I'm working on a project similar to that in there, as well as some personal projects and of course my books and my writings. So I'm encouraging everybody that is listening to this to take heart that there is a way to get out of most of the crap that we've put ourselves into over hundreds of years. We are maintaining systems that exist, that originate since the Bronze Age and the Middle Ages. They're just a little bit different, but not that much. And so we're still dealing with the same issues they had back then, because we never set up the system in a way so that the people were really the beneficiaries. Right now, it's still the kings and the nobles that are the true beneficiaries at this moment. They're just not called kings and nobles anymore. The names have changed, but the dynamics have not, because the system is maintained the same way. So let's build a new system and build the steps inherent to it. And if it's more favorable to us as buyers, as consumers, as individuals, and with some intellect at the very least, then it'll supplement the new system and not be so scary anymore. That is the hope, and that's how you build, or even better, engineer a paradise. Hope you'll join me. Bye-bye for now.